Hi, my name is Christopher Martinez, and I am a virtual teacher from Aldine ISD, and we are in the Teacher's Corner. And we're going to discuss a few learning theories, as you can see by the PowerPoint we have here, learning theory, and a look at classroom application. Now, through this week's studies, we went over a few learning theories, and kind of after reviewing them, reflecting on them, I broke them down into two sort of categories. Now, these aren't really scientific categories. I'm not a psychologist, but this is just my teacher's perspective. And just after looking at them, I saw there was kind of like the how a student learns versus a why a student learns, motivation based learning versus brain based learning. As you can see, I categorize constructivist theory, information processing theory, and social cognitive theories in the how students learn. And then I categorize the adult learning, expectancy theory, goal oriented theory, needs theory, and reinforcement theory in the why students learn. And I've taken several classes on educational psychology, and it's kind of hard to just pick one that really speaks to me because I believe it's a bit of both, really. I believe it's a bit of a, the kid needs to be motivated, and then also um, the teacher should construct their lessons in a manner where the kids can learn because that's how people learn. People learn a specific way. And so they go both hand in hand. Why I want to learn might be many factors, but exactly what's going on in here really depends on many different things. It can really depend on many different things. So if I were to say one theory that really speaks to me, it would be constructivism. And then this is why. So it's very brain based. One of the articles we read actually kind of dismisses a little bit of the Eric Jensen or the brain-based learning because in I've been to some of those brain-based learning presentations before, and some of them do get a little bit of they get away from the scientific aspect of it that it was originally come from, and but the there is something there that kind of speaks to why kids learn, and you know some of the things you'll get from these presentations is what's going on in the brain. Um, what sort of strategies actually speak to the way that the brain learns, and so it is important that we as educators learn about that. And so that's why constructivism kind of speaks to me in that sense. I like that you can get real strategies from um, this sort of theory. It's easy, like I said, it's easy to apply to the classroom, and it's based on reflection of learning. Students reflect on their learning, which any good teacher knows that a kid should reflect on their learning either through writing about what they've learned, speaking about what they've learned, um, being quizzed over what they learn, um, applying their learning, really. One thing that also spoke to me with constructivism was that it really involved the student. I think if a student's not involved, they're not really getting. They're just the teacher's over there presenting, and the kid isn't receiving what they should be. And if they're not involved, it doesn't become real to them. It doesn't become relative to them. It doesn't become engaging. So this is what constructivism kind of speaks to: that a kid needs to be engaged, needs to be involved. And most importantly, it leads us to teach how students learn. So, like, if a student is learning and has a specific way that learns, or is all students have, that's going on in their brain in order for them to learn, we should be aware of that. Um, and really, it just prevents us from doing bad habits in the classroom, from teaching bad teaching in a bad way that really isn't teaching the kids anything, because scientific studies or research has told us and that this isn't the way the kids learn. One thing I really liked about from one of the articles, or from many of the articles actually, was that the evolution of education has grown towards the use of brain scanning, experiments with brains that really show us how things work. Some things to consider: motivation is still important. Students must feel safe to learn and ask questions. Students must help provide, teachers must help provide an environment for learning. So these are some things that aren't really touched on with constructivism, that are touched on with the other motivation based theories. So if I were to look at a case study in the classroom, you'd have 30 plus students, and some of the issues that arise that maybe constructivism doesn't touch on, but some of the other motivation-based theories do, is you have a mixture of boys and girls, mixture of ages, mix of religion, race, creed, mix of socioeconomic status, mix of life experiences outside of the classroom. All of these play a role in how students learn, how students are motivated. Um, I mean, you could have a boy in there who's, boys and girls, you have hormones going on. You could have a student who's going to produce a little bit better than other students just because they're older. You could have students who produces worse than other students because they're younger. uh, you have the relationships between each students. You have, whether positive or negative. You have socioeconomic statuses, kids who are dealing with stuff outside of the classroom. They might go home and have to work, and then when they come back to school, school isn't maybe a priority to them, but because they had to work in the afternoon, it's really affecting their emotional status, and that's going to affect how they do in the classroom and actually how they learn. And so the teacher needs to be aware of that as well. So it's a combination of both. How do I get this kid to be motivated when really they just want to sleep? Um, so if I look at it, how is a kid going to learn? They're going to have a good frame of mind. They need to have an emotional state, the stress level. We're looking at their developmental state. So the teacher being aware of these things. Their age, maturity, um, motivation, what's going to get that student to be motivated. I might be motivated by my goals. I have goals, so that's going to motivate me. I might be motivated. If we're looking at all the motivational theories or the learning-based theories that are based off motivation, we could see some of them promote that are needs-based. I need to feel accepted. I need to be on top, or goal-based, or I might be motivated by learning from other. I might be learning from others. I might have a model, or I could. These are more internal. You have external motivations. I don't want to have a bad grade, or I don't want to be punished at home, so I'm going to do well, or vice versa. Um, and I have different. You have different learning styles. My personality. I like to work alone. I personally like to work alone, or I like to work in groups, and what brings that about, and diversifying all of these, really being diverse, by the teacher being diverse, really can hit on students' um, attributes. Even though I believe a student should be able to learn in any environment, given any setup, that's what we should promote for a student. But the way we do that is by being diverse in our classrooms instead of just doing the same thing every day. So back to the case study. If you have that student, the first thing the teacher should do is build rapport, builds a relationship. This creates a environment, a safe environment for the students to learn. Uh, have engaging, interesting lessons. Make it engaging and relative. So that goes back to the constructivist theory, which really helps. Once the student is motivated, then they can learn. And if you get the student motivated, but you don't teach them right, then they're not getting everything they need. So get them involved, reflecting on their learning, and reviewing any misinformation. These are things that really arise from constructivist theories. Thank you. This I am using a PowerPoint online, and I am also like to thank Screencastify, which is really helping me present this presentation. as an online as an add-on to your browser